First time that you moved into your new home, obviously it was a super exciting time. You were happy to be there. But that first night or that first month, as you were learning the new sounds of your house, you might have started wondering, is this place haunted? Now, if the electrical starts flickering, you're really going to start suspecting some paranormal activity. So before you call Ghostbusters, let's talk about 6 quick fixes for common electrical problems. My name is Andrew Finney, and my passion is helping you make sense of real estate. If you need help finding a top agent near you, or if you simply want to drop me a line to say hello, my contact info is below. If you're new here, please go ahead and subscribe to this channel now and like this video. Thank you. All right, my friend, let's take a closer look at this because let's face it, if you're in bed at like 2 a.m. in the morning and then all of a sudden the radio, the television comes on, it'll freak you the heck out. I mean, let's be honest, like a boom, and then the breakers pop, and then boom, the television's on, and good Lord knows what you were last watching. It could be a crazy movie and absolutely frighten you. But it's not necessarily that your house is haunted, and that's the good thing. So to find out whether you need to be calling in some kind of specialist to come sage your house or call out Ghostbusters to capture whatever is going on in there, let's talk about what it probably is by first diagnosing the symptoms. The first one is, if your lights are turning on and off by themselves, it's probably a switch error going on in one of your electrical outlets. What this means is that you're getting intermittent electrical connection to that specific area. So if you have this going on with the kitchen and it's like on and off, on and off. I know it's a little bit freaky, but by simply investigating what's going on with your electrical outlet or calling out an electrician if you're not comfortable with doing that can resolve a lot of problems there. This is completely common in older homes or fixer-upper type homes. Some DIY enthusiasts decided it would be a genius idea to redo the electrical, and they may not have done it correctly. Let me give you a case in point. With the first house that I bought here in Las Vegas, Nevada, let me tell you, it freaked me the heck out whenever the electrician went in there. I was gonna install a ceiling fan in one of my rooms to give some overhead light since the house was built in 1980s. And I guess in the 1980s, they didn't like overhead light or something, and it was dark. So long story short, I had the electrician come out. They drilled in the hole. They were getting everything ready to go. They were testing the electrical. And when they went up into the attic, they're like, sir, may I ask you a question? I said, sure, what's on your mind? He's like, did you by chance run that electrical cord yourself across the attic? I said, I have no idea what you're talking about. He said, I'll be right back. He goes up into the attic, takes a picture of it, spanning the entire attic, comes back down and shows it to me. When you know it, some DIY enthusiasts during the history of that home decided that they were going to take a standard electrical cord, one of those contractor kinds, right? Cut off both ends and splice it into electrical areas. I said, you know, that is now starting to make a lot of sense because I was trying to figure out why I'd be sitting there in my living room, turn on the fan that was in there, and it would just turn itself off. And I was like, oh, I don't know, this is kind of freaky. And I'm like sitting there pointing at it. I was like, okay, it's working again. Go back to your chair and it turns off. That keeps happening, let's be honest. That's gonna kind of start making you wonder what's really going on. So sometimes this is simply the result of a DIY project gone all wrong. So the lesson to be learned here is that sometimes with an older home or a fixer-upper, it's best to simply investigate the root cause by going to the panel, going to the switch, seeing if it's appropriately wired together. Now, fortunately with YouTube, which we're doing right now together, right? You can go on and search for all kinds of electricians sharing their wisdom and insights with you of how best to know if it's time to call out an electrician or if it's something that you can do yourself. The second reason your lights could be going on and off is simply due to an overheated fixture. If you have like recessed lighting in your house, a lot of those mechanisms that house the light bulb itself have a cutoff mechanism if it gets too hot. And this would normally occur if you were saying, hey, I really want a super bright light in my house and your wattage is too high for the rating on it. You always want to make sure that you're taking a close look at what that fixture's rating is and make sure that you have the appropriate wattage bulb inside of there. It'll prevent overheating and it'll keep you from freaking out at 9 o'clock at night when you're trying to pop some popcorn. The second thing is what happens when your television turns on and off by itself. Sometimes this is nothing more than the result of, again, somebody that wired the house might have wired the electrical that goes to your television directly to a switch on the wall. When you first get into your home, it's not a bad idea to go through with a Dymo label printer or some type of sticky and put what every switch goes to and what switches might correspond to more than one fixture or more than one outlet. Here's a pro tip for you. Have you ever noticed when you walk through your home that sometimes you have upside down electrical receptacles, which means that little prong for the ground is on the top as opposed to the bottom? That doesn't mean that somebody incorrectly installed it. In fact, they were trying to do you a solid. So here's the reality. When you see that ground on the top part of your electrical receptacle, what that's an indication is that there should be a switch in that room that activates that specific electrical receptacle. Check and see if that's the problem with your television. Now, if you rule out that possibility, the other thing is your surge protector that you're using, which by the way, if you're not, please get one. They can actually reduce fire hazards greatly for you. That being said, if it's not your surge protector to your television, then it could indicate that there might be an issue in the walls, which you'll need a qualified electrician to come out and diagnose for you. The third thing is what happens when the lights are just flickering? They're flickering all over the place. Well, fortunately, normally this is a pretty quick fix because it might mean that the bulb's not in securely. It might mean that there's something just very loose, and it's a very quick fix by going and investigating or securing the electrical that might be a little bit loose. Those are common things that happen and really quick to fix. The fourth thing is if your lights are dimming, that's a little bit of a different story. Dimming lights are normally an indication of an uneven power supply running to your home. Now, certain parts of the country are prone to brownouts or blackouts, and you might notice the dimming during a brownout. That's a perfect example of what could be going wrong here. Now, if everybody else on your block has perfect lighting and no one else is browning out, then it might be an indication that you have an uneven power supply inside your home. Now, the first place that you want to go investigate is your surge protector and make sure that you haven't overloaded it. Depending on the time of day this happens, this could be a little bit spooky, especially if it's at night, there's lightning outside, or it's a quiet night and then there's a wolf howling in the background. Those things could be a little bit nerve-wracking. Fortunately, by taking a look at that surge protector and seeing if it's overloaded can go a long ways. Case in point, right here in my office right now, I have actually overloaded my surge protector. I turned on a floor heater and it was on too high of a setting, and the next thing I know, I hear poof. And what it was is my computer went out, everything went out, all the electricity went down, and then it started rebooting itself. And I was like, what the heck? And I was like, oh, that's what happened. Okay, genius. You turned the heater on and you got everything tied in. You got like 12 things plugged into this one poor little surge protector, and it can't handle all the electricity that's being consumed by all the devices. This is really, really common with us because we have so many tech gizmos in our homes, from our 75-inch televisions to our PlayStations to our Xboxes to anything else that you might have plugged in, your cell phones, your tablets, and we're running everything all at one time. This causes a strain on our electrical in our house. So when you see dimming lights, it's normally an indication that it's simply rebalancing out the power supply throughout the home is going to work by saying, hey, if I have all this stuff playing and I turn on the microwave, my lights might dim briefly, and it's also something I need to investigate to make sure I'm not overloading the power system in my house. If this is something that's recurring in your house, then it means that you have that uneven supply of electrical. You might want to call out a qualified licensed electrician to come in and investigate further and see if there's something they can do by adding a breaker or rebalancing your electrical system in your house. Now, if this is a recurring trend in your house, definitely please call a licensed electrician to help you out. The fifth common electrical problem is tripping electric. Now, when you trip electric, there can be a lot of things going on here, from overloading that surge protector, and it pops a breaker in your main breaker box and needs to be flipped back on, and ideally not plugging everything back into it. That's kind of like whenever you see that old school movie with Chevy Chase in it and he's plugging everything in and then it's like poof, everything just explodes. It realistically could happen like that. So let's make sure that you're not overloading your electrical system. And if you're having a common recurring trend of it tripping, it's normally the case because you have too much plugged in and too much power going on, and it's tripping out your circuit breakers. On a side note here, it could just be a worn out breaker. You know, those breakers do have to be replaced from time to time, so you might want to check that out too. And if you've blown a fuse, take it to the store with you and ask them for a replacement component, and it just might be able to solve the problem altogether. And perhaps the easiest one to fix is the sixth thing with what's called a GFCI circuit. GFCI is simply an acronym for ground fault circuit interrupt. Now, this is that receptacle that has two buttons in the middle and normally around wet areas in your house, like your kitchen, your bathroom. What it's designed to do is to prevent any water going into the electrical outlet, and if that happens or there's too much moisture in there, as opposed to causing an issue in your house, it actually has a built-in breaker into that socket and it'll simply trip. It'll simply pop out. The easiest way to fix that is just going by and pushing the button again, and everything should be fine. So you always want to take a tour around your house and understand where all your GFCI circuits are, and a great home inspector that did your home inspection would have outlined where all your GFCIs are, and in fact should have also pointed them out to you about which one corresponds to what room if there's several throughout the house. So now that you know these 6 things that are extremely common that happen in your house with your electrical, let's talk about the top 5 tips for new homeowners hiring contractors and 6 mistakes to avoid hiring a handyman. Looking forward to our next conversation. We'll see you in a few.